The weekend drowning of a Sioux Center man in the Missouri River is drawing some new attention tonight to the dangers open water presents.
And as was the case on Saturday, a person doesn't even have to be swimming to suddenly find themselves in serious trouble.
A startling discovery has sent ripples through the scientific community and beyond. Geologists have issued a red alert after satellite imaging uncovered deep, irregular cracks beneath the Missouri River bed. This revelation, quietly observed over recent months through increasingly sophisticated Earth observation technologies, has raised alarm due to both the unprecedented nature of the fissures and the geological instability they suggest. The Missouri River, stretching over 2,300 miles, is not just one of North America's most iconic waterways, it's a crucial lifeline for ecosystems, agriculture, infrastructure, and the communities that border its banks. The sudden identification of subterranean fractures has cast a shadow of uncertainty over a region not typically associated with major seismic threats. Before we start, smash the like and subscribe buttons for more updates. The satellite data that triggered the alert came from a multi-agency effort monitoring ground deformation patterns across the Midwest. What they found was shocking. The riverbed in several areas, particularly around the central corridor spanning parts of Nebraska and South Dakota, displayed subtle but rapidly intensifying signs of subsurface displacement. These cracks, some extending for several miles beneath the alluvial plains, appear to be forming at a depth that suggests a much deeper tectonic activity than previously documented in this part of the United States. They are not surface-level fissures caused by erosion or sediment shifts, but rather deep geological rifts hinting at the movement of bedrock layers, indicating that something significant is stirring beneath. What makes this development so compelling and troubling is the Missouri River's geological history, or more accurately, the lack of such precedent in recent history. While not entirely free from seismic activity, the region is generally considered geologically stable, especially compared to active fault zones in California or the Pacific Northwest. For decades, the central United States has largely flown under the radar in terms of tectonic risk, with geologists focusing their attention elsewhere. Now, that perception has been upended. The newly identified cracks suggest that the crust in this region might be undergoing a silent transformation, one that could alter not only the physical landscape, but also the understanding of the geotectonic forces at play deep beneath the continent. The structure and geometry of the cracks raise further questions. Imaging analysis shows that they are not uniform. Instead, they form a complex network of diagonal, sometimes branching fractures that intersect at varying depths. This irregularity indicates that the forces responsible are neither superficial nor isolated. Some geologists believe these fractures may be the result of stress accumulation along a previously unmapped fault system or the reactivation of ancient faults once thought to be dormant. The possibility of a blind fault, a fault line buried so deep it has never ruptured the surface, has also been floated. Blind faults are especially dangerous because they give little to no warning before they release energy in the form of earthquakes. If such a structure exists under the Missouri River, its potential activity poses serious risks. Moreover, the Missouri River sits atop layers of glacial sediment and interwoven aquifers, which complicates the picture even further. Cracks forming within or near these aquifers could have cascading effects on water tables, contaminant migration, and the stability of the riverbanks themselves. Water, always in motion, can easily infiltrate new fractures, widening them over time and potentially lubricating fault lines, increasing the chances of slippage. These subsurface changes could alter the course of the river, disturb aquatic ecosystems, and compromise infrastructure ranging from dams and levees to bridges and pipelines that rely on stable geological foundations. The presence of these deep cracks also raises concerns about induced seismicity, a phenomenon in which human activity, such as hydraulic fracturing fracking, deep well injection, or even extensive groundwater pumping, can trigger earthquakes. Though the region in question is not a hotspot for fracking like Oklahoma or Texas, it has seen an increase in industrial-scale water extraction and waste disposal in recent decades. Geologists are now re-evaluating whether these practices could have subtly reactivated underlying faults, contributing to the observed deformation. While natural tectonic movement remains a primary suspect, the role of anthropogenic stressors cannot be ruled out. One of the more disturbing implications lies in the potential for land subsidence or even sudden surface ruptures in areas directly above the cracks. As the supporting structures below shift or collapse, surface land may gradually sink or give way abruptly. This has happened in other parts of the world where underground voids, natural or man-made, have failed under pressure. Although there have been no immediate reports of sinkholes or major structural damage along the Missouri corridor, the red alert issued by geologists suggests that such events, while not imminent, are within the realm of possibility and must be taken seriously. Beyond the geophysical ramifications, the socioeconomic impacts of this discovery could be far-reaching. The Missouri River serves as a transportation artery for goods, a source of irrigation for millions of acres of farmland, and a provider of drinking water to numerous cities and towns. Cracks beneath the riverbed pose a potential risk to all these services. Any major shift in the river's alignment or elevation could disrupt shipping lanes, damage locks and dams, or sever vital water distribution systems. For agricultural communities already facing climate variability, such instability adds another layer of uncertainty. A crack beneath the riverbed, invisible to the naked eye, could change everything above it. Adding to the complexity is the fact that monitoring such cracks is inherently difficult. Most existing sensor arrays were never designed to detect or analyze slow-forming deep earth fractures beneath river systems. Satellite imagery offers a valuable high-level view, but it must be complemented by ground-based instrumentation like GPS networks, borehole sensors, and seismic arrays. In response to the alert, temporary sensors have been deployed across affected zones, but data collection is still in its early stages. The challenge lies in distinguishing between normal geological breathing, the minor cyclical shifts of Earth that occur over millennia, and the signs of something more acute and potentially catastrophic. Environmental scientists are now collaborating closely with geologists to assess the broader ecological impact. Deep Earth cracks can affect not just the soil and water systems, but also the flora and fauna that depend on them. If groundwater pathways are altered or obstructed, it could result in the drying up of wetlands, changes in sediment transport, and temperature shifts in aquatic habitats. Fish populations, especially migratory species like sturgeon, could suffer if spawning grounds are disrupted. Riparian vegetation, tightly linked to underground moisture availability, may begin to show stress long before human infrastructure is visibly affected. These are slow-burning consequences, but once triggered, they are hard to reverse. From an engineering perspective, the implications are equally sobering. Civil infrastructure built under the assumption of geostability now faces a new level of risk. Engineers may need to reevaluate the load-bearing capacities of foundations, especially for bridges, water treatment facilities, and pipelines crossing the Missouri. The cracks may act as slip planes or weak zones, increasing vulnerability during any seismic event, however minor. Retrofitting such infrastructure would be costly, time-consuming, and in many cases logistically challenging, particularly when river access is involved. The psychological dimension of this revelation should not be underestimated either. Communities along the Missouri River have long viewed their environment as stable and predictable. For many, the land has been in the family for generations, shaped more by weather and agriculture than by geological unpredictability. The notion that cracks, deep, silent, invisible cracks, are threading through the land beneath their feet introduces a layer of existential unease. While the risk of immediate catastrophe remains low, the change in perception is already beginning to ripple through local governments, emergency planners, and residents alike. In scientific circles, the discovery is also spurring renewed interest in intraplate tectonics, geological processes that occur away from the boundaries of Earth's tectonic plates. Most seismic activity is focused along these plate edges, such as the San Andreas Fault in California or the Pacific Ring of Fire. However, the interior of continents, including the vast midsection of North America, is not as inert as once believed. The Missouri River cracks offer a rare real-time case study in intraplate dynamics. Understanding what causes such features and how they evolve could have implications far beyond this single river system. It may even influence how scientists assess risk in other supposedly stable areas around the world. There is also speculation that the observed cracks may be linked to deeper mantle processes, slow-moving but powerful flows of rock beneath the crust that can reshape the lithosphere over millions of years. While it's too early to draw firm conclusions, some geologists posit that the movement of ancient cratonic boundaries, the stable cores of continents, may be reasserting themselves. If so, the Missouri River region could be on the cusp of a broader geodynamic transition, one that could take centuries to fully manifest, but would begin with the kinds of cracks now observed. Complicating matters further is the interplay between surface water dynamics and tectonic stress. The Missouri River has been known to flood periodically, and such fluctuations in water load can influence crustal stress patterns. A sudden drop or surge in river volume could, in theory, accelerate existing fault movements. Hydrologists and geophysicists are now examining historical flood data in tandem with the new crack imagery to look for correlations. Preliminary analysis has shown that some of the fractures align with areas that experienced significant flooding in past decades, suggesting a possible feedback loop between surface hydrology and deep earth mechanics. As researchers dig deeper, both literally and figuratively, into the implications of these cracks, a multidisciplinary approach is emerging as the only viable way forward. No single field holds all the answers. Collaboration between satellite technologists, seismologists, hydrologists, ecologists, and engineers will be essential to chart a path through this uncharted territory. Tools such as INSAR interferometric synthetic aperture radar, LiDAR surveys, and deep core sampling are being brought to bear on the region to develop a comprehensive picture of what lies beneath. While the revelation of deep cracks beneath the Missouri River bed has already sent shockwaves through the scientific and public spheres, the implications extend further than structural risks and geological mysteries. As this situation unfolds, the urgency pivots not just around what has been discovered, but around what it demands: a reshaping of environmental policy, regional planning, and scientific modeling that has long ignored the heartland's tectonic subtleties. One of the most pressing issues now emerging is the inadequacy of existing geological maps and subsurface models of the central United States. For decades, seismic risk assessments for the Midwest have largely relied on surface data, historical seismic records, and sparse borehole analyses. These models have often been used to set construction codes, emergency preparedness protocols, and land use zoning. However, the recent satellite findings have exposed glaring blind spots in those models, revealing that a network of fractures, deep, active, and potentially expanding, has gone unnoticed beneath one of the continent's most vital river systems. This revelation underscores a critical need to overhaul outdated geological frameworks and recalibrate them using modern, high-resolution satellite technology and deeper exploratory drilling. At the academic level, geoscientists are grappling with the theoretical implications of the find. Deep-seated rifting in a tectonically quiet region challenges conventional geodynamic principles, which typically associate such activity with areas near plate boundaries. The cracks may suggest an evolutionary shift in how tectonic stress is distributed across the North American plate. Current hypotheses are now being tested through computer simulations that attempt to model crustal behavior under various stress regimes, considering the influence of ancient fault lines, glacial rebound pressures, and long-range mantle dynamics. The unexpected nature of the discovery has even prompted geophysicists to revisit seismic data from previous decades, reanalyzing tremors once dismissed as anomalies in light of the new structural context beneath the riverbed. The implications for hydrogeology are also significant and multifaceted. Beneath the Missouri River lies a tangled system of aquifers, some shallow, others deep, many of which are critical for irrigation, municipal supply, and industry. The cracks' presence in these zones may accelerate leakage, divert underground water pathways, or create conduits through which surface pollutants might seep into clean water reservoirs. The filtration characteristics of subsurface sediment layers depend heavily on their structural integrity. Once cracked, they lose their natural ability to buffer contaminants. If agricultural runoff, industrial chemicals, or untreated waste find pathways into these new fault networks, it could trigger a cascade of water quality issues, affecting both human populations and aquatic biodiversity. Beyond the physical movement of water and contaminants, there's the question of temperature regulation within subsurface water bodies. Deep earth cracks can expose aquifers to geothermal gradients previously insulated from them. A slight increase in temperature might not be perceptible on the surface, but it can disrupt the microbial and chemical balance in groundwater ecosystems. This in turn affects nutrient cycling, water chemistry, and even the longevity of aquifer viability. Scientists are currently developing thermal mapping protocols to assess whether any such heat transfer has begun occurring in tandem with the structural deformations. Another domain being impacted is geomorphology, the study of landforms and the processes that shape them. The Missouri River, while often considered a slow, meandering giant, is not immune to change. Over millennia, it has carved valleys, shifted courses, and left behind oxbow lakes and floodplains. With the presence of deep fissures beneath it, geomorphologists are re-evaluating how such forces could influence the river's future path. Cracks could cause tilting of the riverbed, altering water flow velocity, or causing sediment to deposit unevenly, which might initiate avulsions, abrupt shifts in the river's direction. Such shifts have occurred historically but over long periods. Now, with these destabilizing factors, the time frame could be shortened drastically, leading to unpredictable changes in the river's path. The implications for biodiversity are especially complex. The Missouri River serves as a corridor for a wide range of species: birds, fish, mammals, and even microorganisms. Any structural instability in the riverbed could affect the habitats these species depend on. For instance, freshwater mussels, which are highly sensitive to changes in sediment and water chemistry, could suffer mass die-offs if cracks release buried sulfates or disrupt flow patterns. The broader food web, from migratory birds to predatory fish, relies on these foundational species for stability. Biologists are now considering whether conservation strategies need to pivot from focusing on surface habitat preservation to incorporating subsurface geological stability as a key factor in ecosystem resilience. The agricultural dimension of this discovery is equally urgent. Much of the land adjacent to the Missouri River is among the most productive farmland in North America. Corn, soybeans, wheat, and cattle operations all rely on steady water access and predictable soil behavior. If subsurface cracks begin influencing groundwater availability or introduce salinity changes from deep earth upwellings, crop yields could suffer dramatically. What's more, soil liquefaction, a process where saturated soils temporarily lose strength due to sudden stress, could become a risk if seismic events are triggered along these cracks. This would not only devastate crops, but could also destroy infrastructure like grain silos, irrigation canals, and transportation routes critical to the region's economy. Logistics and transportation systems, which are deeply entwined with the Missouri River, may also face long-term challenges. Barges move millions of tons of cargo annually along the river's course. Docks, piers, and locks require stable riverbanks and predictable water depths. Any instability beneath the riverbed could undermine these systems, leading to disruptions in the regional and even national supply chain. Engineers are beginning to assess the risks to river navigation, noting that shifts in the bed's elevation could create unexpected shallows or cause sediment to pile up in key transit corridors, complicating navigation or causing accidental groundings. On a broader scale, the geopolitical ramifications of this discovery are beginning to be discussed, albeit quietly. The Missouri River is not just a regional feature. It connects multiple states, many with differing environmental regulations, economic interests, and political agendas. The appearance of deep, potentially active cracks beneath such a transboundary feature introduces complex jurisdictional questions. Who bears the responsibility for monitoring, mitigation, and response? Should federal agencies take the lead, or do states retain authority over their sections of the riverbed? These questions are likely to become more prominent as risk assessments continue and potential intervention strategies are proposed. The situation also shines a spotlight on emergency preparedness, or the lack thereof, for geological events in the Midwest. Tornadoes, floods, and blizzards are part of the known threat landscape, and emergency management systems are tailored accordingly. But seismic risks have traditionally been low priority in this region. That may now change. Local governments might need to revisit building codes, reinforce public infrastructure, and engage communities in new education campaigns about earthquake preparedness, even if large tremors are not currently forecast. Schools, hospitals, and utilities may all need new contingency plans for scenarios that, until recently, would have been dismissed as implausible. Meanwhile, the energy sector is beginning to examine the implications of this discovery for fossil fuel and renewable infrastructure. Pipelines, both oil and gas, crisscross the Midwest and often intersect the Missouri River. Deep cracks can increase strain on these conduits, potentially leading to stress fractures or misalignments. Hydropower facilities along the river, which rely on stable water flow and structural integrity, are also under scrutiny. Wind turbines increasingly deployed in the region may not be directly affected by cracks, but the shifting geological context could influence future siting decisions. On the public health front, researchers are considering whether the changes beneath the Missouri River could create indirect risks. For example, if cracks begin to emit radon gas, a naturally occurring radioactive element that can seep up from the ground, homes and buildings near the river could see elevated exposure levels. In poorly ventilated spaces, radon can accumulate and significantly increase the risk of lung cancer. Similarly, the potential contamination of aquifers by heavy metals or chemical byproducts released from disturbed geological strata could necessitate enhanced water treatment systems and stricter monitoring protocols. If you liked this video, please give it a like and subscribe to our channel. Also, leave your comments below and tell us, what are your thoughts on the deep cracks? Expecting disaster or natural shift? We want to hear from you. Thank you for watching and see you next time.